Hey guys, Lord here, back again with another edition of Flashback Fridays, and what I have for you today is the Hasbro Marvel Legends fan channel exclusive X-Force Deathlok. Now before we get into the meat and taters of this review, since I no longer have the packaging for this figure, let us first take a look-see at his accessories, starting off with the minigun, of course. Reuse from the Deathlok I looked at last week, although this time has a translucent yellow ammo belt, and due to the way it's warped, it's hanging out the other side this time. Just looks better that way, I guess. Of course, also, like the one I looked at last week, the barrel rotates in the front here. Really cool. And of course, you can take this out and put it on the other one if you want. That's really cool. And on top of that, he also gets this shotgun, which is reused from Bishop, I believe, and he was a part of the Sauron Build-A-Figure wave. Really awesome wave, actually. I would like to have reviews of that up on this channel at some point. But really cool shotgun. Might actually give this to the other one, to be honest with you. That said, let's get a closer look at Deathlok here. His arm out of the way. He also comes with his trademark little pistol with the scope on it, which does fit this little loop-de-loop on his belt here. Push that down, and there you go. That said, though, since this is just a repaint of a figure I just took a look at last week, I will leave a link in the description below to that review. You can go check that out, because I don't want to waste time looking at articulation and stuff since I just did it. That said, though, of the two, I think you're getting a little bit more Deathlok with this one as opposed to the more traditional one. And why is that? Well, he comes with 3 guns. He's got the red eye here, which I always prefer. And much like the other one, he does have the tuber that pops out of his chest and the removable backpack here, which you can just take off and plug back in. And if I'm not mistaken, this Deathlok was on the same X-Force team as Wolverine, Deadpool, Psylocke, Archangel, Nightcrawler, Phantom X, and Domino. I think that's everybody. I don't know if Cable was on that team or not, but it was like an early 2000s team. It wasn't a more traditional X-Force team. And while Deathlok isn't exactly an X-Men character, at least not to me anyways, it's more of a reanimated corpse than a mutant, I think that team's really cool. So I'm happy to have this guy to put with them. At the moment, I think the only members I'm missing are Psylocke, Archangel, and Nightcrawler, because they haven't made a Nightcrawler yet, and the Psylocke and Archangel they did make were Comic-Con exclusives, and they are not cheap nowadays. Oh, I also believe Warpath was on that team too, if I'm not mistaken, so be nice to see a reissue of that figure at some point as well. But at any rate, I really like this figure, man. It's just as good as the other one. I would say the other one's got it as far as colors go, with the exception of the eye there, which I might actually swap this head onto that one. But this one's got it beat as far as the tightness of the joints, like the shoulders are a little bit tighter on this one. Whereas the other one, they're a little looser. Granted, he has been holding the minigun for a long time, so that makes sense why that one would be looser. But this one, I think the quality on it was a little bit better. With the exception of this knee here, it's a little gummy. For me, anyways. But that said, if you're wondering, what the heck is the deal with this figure? Why did they do it? Well, back in, is it 2019? Gosh, it's been so long now. It was the 80th anniversary of Marvel. And to help promote that, Hasbro did a line of 80th anniversary Marvel Legends figures. And this was one of those. Now, of course, there were more expensive offerings like the 80th Thor, 80th Iron Man, 80th Captain America, which was a Walmart exclusive, I believe, as well as the Hulk Wolverine 2-pack and Colossus and Juggernaut 2-pack. Those were kind of the creme de la creme of the 80th line, but there were also a bunch of fan channel exclusives like this guy, Agent Anti-Venom, which I actually need to get again because my first one had 2 right biceps, because of course it did. There was also a Stealth Iron Man with a katana sword of all things. a cowboy hat Wolverine, and the Big Time Letdown Spider-Man re-released into the Big Time No Letdown Spider-Man. Shout out to Shardimus Prime, even though he probably doesn't need it. But at any rate, there was quite a few things released for the 80th anniversary of Marvel Legends, and that's just the ones I can remember offhand. I'm sure there was more, but at the end of the day, it was nice to see Deathlok released in that lineup. Oh, actually, there was also the Punisher with the skull face paint. That was another one released in that line, which I also have, so I might do a review of that at some point. I'm sure my buddy Altenda will enjoy that. But at any rate, I think that covers it, because, again, I'm not going to waste time with articulation and whatnot, because it's the same as the one I looked at last week, so check that review if you haven't already. But is there anything else we really need to address here? Oh, also, this is not the only time this mold has been reused. I actually pulled that figure out for comparison. We'll look at that in just a moment. But this body mold was also reused for the Reaver Skullbuster, I believe is his name. I don't know, he kind of looks like Crossbones or something like that to me. But at any rate, with that being said, why don't we move right along and take a look at those size comparisons. First up, here is our X-Force Deathlok next to his more traditional looking counterpart from the Sasquatch Build-A-Figure wave. And if you ask me, I think you'll get a more quintessential looking Deathlok if you swap some parts between these two. But hey, that's just me. And then we have another figure utilizing the Deathlok Buck Skullbuster from the Age of Apocalypse Caliban Build-A-Figure wave. And even though he does utilize the same buck as good old Deathlok here, he does have some added parts to make him a little bit more unique. And last but certainly not least, we have our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulus, Livid Spawn, who as usual towers over everyone. So with that being said, time to wrap things up, some final thoughts. Overall, and even though this is just a simple repaint of the Deathlok I took a look at last week, which, let's not get twisted now, still a solid figure, I would still highly recommend you try and track this one down and add it to your Marvel Legends collection, especially if you want to complete the X-Force team this version of Deathlok was a part of, or, like me, you want to spruce up the original release with some added accessories, or swap the heads to give it the red eye, because as I said before, nothing against the yellow eye, but the red eye is just a little bit more badass, in my opinion. That said, much like the original release of Deathlok from Hasbro, I don't think this one is going for a whole heck of a lot on the secondary market, so I would highly suggest you try and track him down for a good price, if you can, that is. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's edition of Flashback Fridays, and if you're so inclined, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. If you haven't already, please hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep the comments civil, because the world sucks enough as it is, especially when people don't appreciate really solid Marvel Legends like good old Deathlok here. I mean, that's just a crime against humanity in my opinion, but to each their own, I guess. Well, that being said, until next time, I'll catch you guys later.